Happy Saturday to everybody. I'm glad everybody's here. I have a special guest, Jess from East Coast Red and Gold podcast. I'm trying to think of how to give you a compliment about all the great guests you always seem to be able to land in there. I don't know. You're like we talk about OGs and Niners community. That right there might be ultimate OG status. Just the fact that I don't know if it's your charming personality or what connections you have. But I figured, and we talked off screen. You said you're from Jersey. I'm from upstate New York. And we'll talk the challenges of being a Niners fan in the Northeast. But real quick, before we get started, we're going to get right into it as far as what we what either of us are looking for in this game. Any particular players or position groups or anything in particular that you're looking for as this game approaches?
Well, I'm curious to see who on the offensive line is going to play. Being that last week, the offensive line wasn't very good. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Brock. It looks like he's going to play at least one or two series, and just seeing some of the starters.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just a clean. I don't know how many starters are going to be, and I'm going to assume Trent Williams isn't going to play at left tackle. But I just want a clean couple of series with the quarterback. And like I said off stream with you, I just want to get him in and out healthy because if he's the supposed golden goose this year, we need a healthy Brock Purdy, and we don't need to waste any snaps that we don't need to in the preseason. I understand you got to get some. This is kind of the game to do it because then the final game is pretty much just like second, third string and fringe players playing. And I would assume by like the second week in the preseason, your roster's pretty much set with who you're going to be. Very rarely do you see somebody make a team on the last preseason game. So I'm just want to get in and out healthy and get on to week one in Pittsburgh. Real quick, what games are you going? Are you going to any games this year? Are they on the East Coast? Or are you traveling out west? You got any stuff planned?
I am going to Pittsburgh. I'm going to the home opener.
Nice.
Going to Jacksonville, flying out to Arizona, and going down to DC.
That's awesome. I have never been to a 49ers game in my life, ever.
Oh, wow. Why not?
Well, I have a slight fear of flying, kind of like John Madden. One of these days I've had dreams that I was going there, but it never actually transpired. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm at a Niners game. And then I wake up and I'm like, okay, that was weird. But they play the Browns this year. And like you said, they play the Steelers. My nephew's a huge Niners fan. If I'm going to do anything, I don't want to do it by myself, because I've never been to one.
Right.
He's pretty worldly as far as like his knowledge of things. So like having him, he's a Gen Zer. He knows his stuff. He's like 27, 28. I would want to go with him because he's just smarter, we'll split the cost down the middle and go for it. But he's kind of a hard guy to track down because he works out all the time. And, he's a younger guy. So, but I'll hit him up again before the game approaches and see it would be worth the road trip. I would love to go.
You should go. It's definitely a really cool experience.
I just don't want to get. I have a little bit of a temper, so I don't want to get in a fight with anybody in public. I might have a little bit of a problem if somebody starts throwing beer, bouncing stuff off of me. So, might have to do a little bit of intense meditation or something before the game, so that I don't flip out. Real quick, I just want to say hello to Laura Cat. She joined as this started. Thank you very much. She says hi, Jess and Aaron. Great to see you. Always supporting the stream. We got my guy from Mondays, Niners Coast to Coast, David McNider. What is going on, my dude? Ryu says 5:30. Yep, the game's at 5:30, so 8:30, 8:30 Eastern. And yeah, it's interesting to find other 49er fans that are East Coasters. So I asked you off stream, and I'll ask you here. What? How long have you been a Niners fan? Because I've been a Niners fan 30 years, so I'm 40. I'll be 44 in December. But like, What's your story as far as how you got into liking the 49ers? Because I've only known you through commenting and clicking on your guys' podcast on Wednesday.
Yeah, so my dad watched Joe Montana at Notre Dame. And then right when he was drafted by the Niners, and that was it. So it's me, my parents, my brother, my nephew, my one sister. We're all 49ers fans. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, I started in about 89, 90. I had a family member meet him, Joe Montana, in Italy.
Mhm,
Uh, my mom's from Sicily. She was born there. So one of her cousins, he's like a third cousin to me. I don't know exactly what he does for a living, but he makes good money. He's been the mayor of Sicily, and he's done some other things. He was in charge of like being a liaison, I guess, for like people who come over there. And
mhm.
he met him via dinner. He met Jennifer and him back in about 89. And I had just started getting into football. So, of course, it's my family from another country. I'm like so interested in what he was saying. And I started like looking and like, oh, who's this Joe Montana guy? Who's this 49ers guy? And then like that was kind of the genesis of me being a Niners fan. And it's interesting because I became a fan at the tail end of the initial dynasty, and then became a fan as they transitioned from Montana to Young. So
Mhm.
I never really watched a ton of Joe other than right at the very tail end. But like my Niners story is very painful because it was like Giants we lost, and then the Cowboys era happened. So it was like I've seen a Super Bowl or two or three, but like it's been so long, it doesn't feel like it even matters anymore. It's not in the same lifetime. So um, how like I'm trying to exactly figure out how to put this. Like, do you get any grief from people that are from the north, like from Jersey, who are Jets fans or Eagles fans, that you're a 49er fan and you live way out here in New York?
Not really. I mean, people will come up to me and say like the 49ers, huh? Or like if I go to, like out to a store there, because I have like a matching purse and a wallet, and I'm constantly wearing Niner stuff. So people will say like, "Oh, I guess you like the 49ers." Like, like comments like that. But nothing ever like, you know, awful or anything like that. But the Jets, a lot of Jets talk around here because Aaron Rodgers and and stuff like that. So it's very annoying. But they at least they're having offensive line problems. So
Yeah, they're right there with us.
yeah.
So what's your excitement level as far as getting the chance to see Brock Purdy and maybe some first string offense? Are you the type of person that really just could care less about preseason and get right to the regular season, or do you have any rooting interest or guys or certain position groups that you're paying attention to?
I'm not necessarily like I don't really. It doesn't really matter to me whether we win or lose because it's preseason.
Right.
But like today, some of the starters are playing, so it's just good to see 49ers football, and just kind of get some just, you know, reps out of it and and stuff like that. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I've always big on 49er football and get to see the gold and the red on TV. But and last week's game was so painful to watch. It was so I know there were backups and third stringers, but you want to see a little bit, and they didn't really give us anything. The thing
Yeah, it was
is you don't
definitely
really,
hard to watch.
yeah, you don't want it, but you don't want to blow your stack in the preseason though either. So, like, I'm not super interested in anything other than clean, maybe some penalty free drives. Move the ball a little bit, and then pack everybody away for week one. Like, I really don't have any really uh anything figured out. Like, there's nothing on offense, at least for this team, that has me like I have to see this guy. I think the only thing
Right.
would be the starting offensive line. And if Trent's not playing, who's playing in his place and how does he play? I know there was talk about Il Manning being this player to watch. It might be an offensive tackle.
Hmm.
Um, so maybe there's that. I know Jalen Moore. I've never been a big Jalen Moore fan, and he's played pretty poorly in the preseason. So there's definitely some concerns there. I mean, we went through all our quarterbacks last year with injuries. So like Of course, offensive line is a big deal, but I'm not necessarily worried about the starting guys more than I am the backups. But like I said, if Trent's not playing, we're going to have a backup tackle in there at least. So that would be something. Uh, I want to see. I would love to see a little bit more from the defensive line too. I'd like to see some pass rush.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get in the quarterback space just a little bit. But yeah, as far as Purdy goes, he's already won the starting job. We knew that back in March. It's
Hmm.
more about the backups. Let me ask you this: what is your take as a fan? Because everybody has an opinion of this. Where would you say your loyalty resides more? Are you a 49ers fan in general? Are you a Brock Purdy stan or a Trey Lance stan? Do you care who the quarterback is? Or are you more like me, or is just like whoever it is, I'm going to root for him and let's try to win something this year. Like there's such a dividing line right now in 49er fanhood, especially on social media, where it's pretty toxic. So where do you kind of sit on that?
Yeah, it definitely is extremely toxic. It shouldn't be this way.
No.
Um, the way I feel is whoever gives us the best chance to win, that's who I want out there. Whether that's Brock, whether that's Trey Lance. I don't really have high hopes for Sam Darnold.
No, I didn't either. I like when people were saying there's a chance that Trey doesn't make the 53-man roster. I'm like, you're really going to give Sam Darnold the nod over that kid? I mean, there's a lot of bad Sam Darnold football on tape out there.
There is.
That would be really scary to think about. He's me in the backup. If things work out the way we think it's going to be, Purdy 1, Lance 2, Darnold 3. And most teams, if they're playing their third string quarterback during the season, there's a good chance they're not going to go anywhere. This isn't like last year where we had this diamond in the rough. No, it's Sam Darnold. He's what you see is what you get. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm more or less want to see just whoever's the quarterback run the offense efficiently. Don't turn the ball
Hmm.
over and give the defense a chance to go eat when they have a chance to be on the field. If they have to. When you play that kind of Niners football where you run the ball and you're able to score and eat clock, that's when the Niners can eat on defense. You know what I mean? If they're constantly 3 and out, having come back out there, lends itself to injury and poor play. Um, Speaking of injury and poor play and guys, uh, I'm I feel like when you're not on the football field and maybe you're holding out, there's a chance that kind of stuff's going to happen. Where is your concern level with Nick Bosa not being there and your concern when he actually does make it here that like an injury could be looming just because it seems like anytime there's a holdout, there's always something followed like an injury that's either a season ending or something that's, guys out a while. Like I personally think that contact callus is real when it comes to training camp. I wonder if you feel kind of similar about how much longer do you think we need to wait for Bosa before it becomes kind of an issue?
Well, I heard that Matt Mayoko said that the Niners expect him in the building within 7 to 10 days. Now, if that's true, that's I feel plenty of time, before week 1 rolls around. He's not going to show up out of shape, but there's just being in shape and then there's football shape, and those soft tissue injuries, whether it's, hamstring and stuff, they tend to linger, with a situation like this. If he does get injured from not, being around the team and stuff, I hope not. But I definitely would expect him. I mean, if Matt Mayoko says that, I mean, he's pretty much the straight line to the Niners.
Yeah. Yeah.
You tend to, go with that and believe that. So I truly hope that's the case.
Are you more like me when it comes to like people who report that have agendas based on people who kind of follow the Niners that are kind of in their good graces that have been following them for years, like Mayoka or Matt Barrows or something? Because I don't know about you, and this isn't knocking anybody, but like some of the training camp reports from a lot of the people we know that do have channels, some of it was a little biased, whether one way or the other. And
Mhm.
as much as I was It was awesome to see people I've met online or streamed with or collaborated with there. I didn't really put a lot of stock in a lot of people's reports because a lot of them were skewed towards one particular player, whether it's Brock
Mhm.
or Trey. Are you kind of the same? Are you like a Mayoka Barrows, Jennifer Lee Chan type of person where like I'm gonna go with them uh over people and not we're not knock I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying I
Right,
kind of
right.
what are you kind of in that mindset?
Yeah, I mean, I like Mayoko, Jennifer Lee Chan. Two of my favorites are Jack Hammer and Larry Kruger. So I'll definitely go with like their stuff. But as far as, even with them like reporting, like for instance, like Brock went like 7 of 10, whatever, whatever the case may be, like to me, it's like practice. I've never actually had to talk about practice so many times in my life, like over the past like week and a half. But what happens in practice, like they try different things and stuff like that. And what's up, Bashar? And Kyle wants them to do like certain things, and like it's practice. Like that doesn't necessarily define how they're going to be in the regular season. So yeah, I definitely have that mindset for sure.
There was an interview with Christian McCaffrey that I uploaded to TikTok and YouTube. It's just him being like, we're working on things. He says, he goes, I've never seen so much coverage towards training camp stats ever in my life. And
He was with
I,
Peter King, right?
yeah, he was with Peter
Yeah.
King, and he thinks it's insane that there's this much onus put on training camp stats. The only reason there's all this onus put on training camp stats is because of the quarterback situation. It's because, uh, depending on who you talk to, Trey hasn't gotten a fair shot, and it's unsettled and it's unfair. But if you look at it from what the Niners have been saying, is anything that's really happening right now a surprise? We heard back in March that Brock was the leader in the clubhouse, and now we're
Right.
in almost September, and some people get like this. I don't understand where the anger is coming from when we already knew, unless he's suffered some sort of significant setback, he was the guy until proven otherwise. And things have pretty much worked out that way all off season. And they talk about the picks and how many picks he's thrown. Uh, uh, Ryan Leaf made a comment about, he goes, I never threw a lot of picks in practice, but he goes, damn it, and those things called NFL games, I sure played like I played poorly. So like when it actually mattered, that's when he was making all the mistakes. So like he thinks it's ridiculous that they're putting all this stock into stats at training camp. I've never seen this before. This is just, it's narrative driven. It's who's your guy? Is it Trey? Is it Brock? Is it Darnold? I don't know. I just want the season to start. It's not going to stop. We know that. It's still going to be here when the season starts. People are going to still be rooting for whoever. If Brock goes out there and stinks up the joint, they'll say, I bet you if Trey had the chance, he'd come out there and ball out, and vice versa. So um,
I
I
think
thought,
my
go ahead.
my not to cut you off, but I think
Go
my
ahead.
personal favorite is, even though we've known this since March, that people still say, well, Trey should have a shot with the number ones. And it's like, well, I don't see, for instance, the Jets, like I don't see Zach Wilson having a shot with the number ones, you know, and going instead of Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? Like we have our QB1.
Yeah. It was set in stone. They told us what it was. So hold this whole thing. Oh, well, let's see Trey with the number ones. He was never going to have a chance with the number ones because it was already set in stone in March that if Purdy's healthy, he's QB2 or 3. Uh, I think he will be QB2. I think, like you said, let's hope it's not Sam Darnold because that would be a disaster. But this whole season's going to be its own entity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we can pontificate and ballpark what we want and how we think things are going to turn out, but eventually September 10th is going to be here, and we're all going to be stressed out. And we're all going to be screaming and yelling at the television because I know I will. I always joke, me and John V from Locker Room Rant. He's part. I think he's Greek. I'm half Sicilian. I get really insane when I watch games. Like I watch him alone because I get so mad. And I never thought I would meet somebody, according to either Bash or other people that know him, that gets really intense and watches games. So like I'm okay just chilling out right now and relaxing because I know within the next under 20 days or so, all this smiling and talking and all this other stuff is all going to be serious, stressed, emotionally imbalanced for 3 hours. Like I'm very in time. Football stresses me out. Like I might come on here and be kind of ordinary or plain or boring to some people who watch my channel, but like in real life, that's where you see all the spice because it's just part of my personality. Like I'm not gonna scream and drop F bombs on here consistently. I do that when I'm watching games, either to myself or if the sound's on loud enough, I can do it where nobody can hear me. But I don't know. Do you get pretty rowdy when you watch games, or are you pretty cool headed?
I'm pretty cool headed. I mean, way back when I used to get like I was like really bad. And I would like watch the games out, and like people would kind of like, like press my buttons about, what's going on in the game. And then like finally it was just like, you know what, it is just a game. Although granted, I do get stressed about it. And sometimes I do say like I need another hobby because that's how stressful it can
Always.
be.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I seem to be pretty cool headed. I think I get more nervous than anything.
Yep. Me too. It's football to me is territorial. It's bragging rights. Part of the reason that we watch football is so that we could be, happy that our team's doing well while another person's team is doing like trash. Like it's all that. It's what sports is. It's bragging rights. The reason 49er fans want to win the Super Bowl so much is just so that they can kind of rub it in, Cowboys fans' faces, who they always call America's team, and yet they haven't, won a playoff game in ages, and the 49ers have been in the whether they've won or not, they've had a bunch of conference championship games since that point. So it's
Hmm.
just those little small things where I could just, pump my chest out a little bit. That's a lot of it. Football to me is almost miserable until it's over. Like in the midst of a game, I'm in agony. Like when I watch games, I'm in agony. I'm so stressed and like, oh, what if this happens? And then, oh, this guy's hurt. The season's over. And then we end up winning, one, two, three, four, five, 6 games in a row. And I'm like, I worked with somebody. She goes, you got to learn to enjoy the moment when you're watching games. You cannot be this emotionally invested from play to play, from quarter to quarter. But that's just, I'm gotten better. Before my dad passed away, he always used to tell me, Aaron, regardless of the outcome, Monday comes, those guys are cashing checks. You're
That's
more
right.
worried about that than they are. They're still cashing checks on Monday. I used to get so mad, and my dad would be like, "I'm gonna like rip the cord out of the wall if you don't stop." Because I get emotional to the point of tears sometimes when I'd like when we lost to the Packers in '97, our last championship game appearance. It was like really rainy, and the Packers were
Hmm.
at us. Oh, I was so stressed and emotional after that game, and my dad was like, "Dude," like he felt like ripping the TV out of the wall because I was like off my rocker. So it took me about another 20 years, but I finally kind of matured enough. But 49er minus said John V punches holes in walls. I have done that. I had a
Wow.
speaker one time from surround sound and it cut my whole hand open. Yeah,
Oh,
during a
jeez.
game. That was bad. Yeah. Or let's
That's
say
not good.
I had a light that I bear pawed once and it started sparking. And my brother's like, "You've got a freaking problem, dude." He's like, "You're still like this over football," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I need to stop this." So it's I'm more conscientious of it now. I don't really do stuff like that anymore. But um, let's see. There was a report that came out today with news that I didn't know. Apparently, Taco Charlton is going on the season-ending IR list, and the Niners also waived running back Kalan Laybourne, and they signed defensive linemen Ladarius Hamilton and Tomasai Lalil to 1-year deals. How were you taken back by that? Because I heard Taco had a decent camp, and then all of a sudden he's gone for the year. It's like, geez, if there's
Yeah, I
one
mean,
thing this team needs is defensive line depth.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard that like he came off the plane and he was already like effective like that first day. So I was kind of when I saw that earlier, I was like, "What? What's happening?"
Where? When did this happen? Did he slip getting out of bed? Like, what in the world happened with? Oh man, I almost. Uh, Damn it! Because were you of the mindset of let's go get Yannick Ngakwe or Justin Houston or Jadavian Clowney to where we have like because to me, I guess Taco Charlton was about as close as what we were going to get to that sort of signing, and to hear that he was kind of making some headway early in camp, right off the plane, like you said, and now it worries me a little bit. You know what I mean? Because last Sunday when you watched the game and I watched the game, the Niners didn't look like a team that had a whole bunch of depth on the defensive line. They were going against another team's twos and threes just like that, and like I didn't see anything other than the Clelin Ferrell, where he just beat that tackle around the edge.
Mhm.
There was pretty really nothing. Are you kind of in that same headspace?
Yeah, I actually wanted Brian Burns from Carolina.
Me too. Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not really so worried about the defensive line. I think we'll be all right. The depth, like I know we did lose Amenahue and Ebukam and and stuff like that, but I think we'll be fine. Chris Kasarik just really rallies the troops, day in and day out. But I think we'll be good there.
I'm not as optimistic, only because last year, if you look at the statistics for sacks, we had around 44, and the Eagles were pressing up against almost 80. They were like in the mid 70s, right? So they had at least 30
Mhm.
more sacks than the 49ers. The Cowboys had a lot too. And Nick Bosa had 18 and a half, and then I don't think one player made it above 6 last year. Um, I guess Javon Hargrave, I keep forgetting that we signed him, will be part of that pass rush, and maybe it offsets what's coming off the other side. But I was like you. Brian Burns to me is like a Madden move where like you turn off the salary cap and you just move him from the Niners or from the Panthers to the 49ers. It's in fantasy, but in real life, like they would, I mean, because pass rushers, if you think about it, are a dime a dozen. Like, once you have
Mhm.
one as a franchise, he's not going anywhere unless you're stupid. Um, Most pass rushers, once they are drafted, play for a team usually the majority of their career, unless they're trying to do somebody a service and they let them go somewhere else if they're trying to win a championship or something. Like Bosa wants to be a 49er for life. There's just no question in my mind that he's going to be, unless the Niners, their whole front office and coaching staff is suddenly fired and then they bring in some other regime. But even then, yeah, I'm personally a little bit more worried, but maybe it's just the Niners came out a little flat last week and they'll show something else. Bashard just said breaking news: Brock Purdy is starting this game, so we'll
Okay.
get we'll get at least a series or two. If I'm them, I put him out there for like 5-6 plays and call it a day. I don't know. Are you kind of like that? Just get him in, get him out.
Yeah, I mean, 5 or 6 plays, I just to see like a little something. I mean, it'll be nice to see him back out there, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I don't want any skill guys be like there's just I don't know. It just this team is so snake bitten by injuries. If there's any way you can avoid them, you do it. Like if it means playing all backups all preseason, then who cares, right? But I mean, you do have to see a little bit of something for chemistry. So,
Right.
yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be the first time we've seen him on the field since the championship game. So, whoever's
Yeah.
at right tackle better do their damn job and not let that man get touched. Otherwise, they might have to deal with me. I'll come out there West Coast and have a talking to
We will get on that
I'll,
plane.
I'll smack McKivitz upside his head. Um, what do you make of the 49ers public support of Purdy and even Darnold to some extent, and their lack of support for Trey Lance? I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, you don't even have to be a Trey Lance stan, so to speak. You just from an optic from the outside. I mean, the national media has been on him. Everybody's been attacking him. And when Kyle Shanahan was asked about it, instead of saying like, we know what what he's got in this building, blah blah blah, blah, and sticking up for him, all he said was, "Well, he was a third pick in the draft, and it comes with the territory." I didn't see any sympathy whatsoever. Is that a little telling for you that they're so? Because people say like once you're in the Kyle Shanahan doghouse, it's a tough place to get out. I get a vibe from Kyle that if there's a doghouse, Trey Lance is in it. Like, what's your take on how they publicly talk or don't talk about him when the conversation is brought up?
They've said good things about him before publicly. I mean, to continue to say the same things, and it gets a little annoying. Just like when people say like, oh, he needs to announce like who's the starting quarterback. Like, no, he doesn't. You know what I mean? Like
It's
nobody.
gamesmanship. Yep.
Right. Like nobody has to announce anything. I mean, he doesn't, the organization doesn't owe the fans anything. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, the national media, the 49ers are always a good story. There's always something with the 49ers. They don't know, there's 31 other teams that they can cover, and, and stuff. Like they could talk about Patrick Mahomes ad nauseum, just like they did Tom Brady. You know what I mean? But now I guess we're that team. But I don't know. I don't really read too much into, what people say about Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, like anything negative. It's, it is what it is. I mean, I was always told you can't stop people from talking. So it's just, people need to, do their jobs and stuff like that. So it is what it is.
It's true. I mean, it's the media's job to make stories out of things, and I like when people say it's all about clicks. Yeah, it
Mhm.
is. That's their job to get clicks because clicks means coverage and coverage means money. You know what I mean? Like if you're the guy to break a story of something happening before anybody else on numerous occasions, that's good for your brand. That's good for your business as a reporter. So that I never have a problem with. I did have a problem with Michael Lombardi taking the shot. That was a little low
Yeah.
blow, kind of almost like a personal thing because of him being wrong about who they drafted and who he thought they were going to draft. There's a little bit of that with certain people. They take joy in seeing Trey Lance struggle, saying his mama, when she picked him up. Like, why do you have to add that? Like,
Yeah,
that
that
is
was
so
stupid.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
That made me angry. But, like I said, I'm like you. I listen to certain beat people, and that's pretty much it. Barrows, Mayoka, Jennifer Lee Chan, maybe what's her name from I'm in the process of hopefully having her on. You guys had him on your channel. Not Jennifer Lee Chan. She works for that the girls network.
Tracy
Tracy
Sandler.
Sandler. Yeah. I contacted her before training camp, and I kind of recontacted her. She said to hit her back after. It's so weird with those kind of things. I'm so not into like bothering people. It's always like you send, and it's like, I hope this doesn't sound needy or weird, but like you're trying to be semi-aggressive, but not at the same time, and like
Right,
trying to
right.
kind of say like, hey, I'd really like to have you on, but at the same time, like, hey, I don't want to come off like a creepy stalker. So there's like that. I guess maybe it's easier as a woman to another woman to send a message and not come off weird. But as a guy, it's always like you really have to like reread what you're typing, make sure it doesn't sound creepy, because that goes right to an automatic block or her never responding. So like I pretty much just asked again, like, hey, if you'd like to do this, um, whenever. I said if you're busy, I understand. Well, like I'm here whenever. So we'll see. Um, this has nothing to do with 49ers, but I kind of asked a question. I mean, it has to do with the 49ers, but nothing that's pertinent right now. How do you do it? How do you get these amazing guests on? I would love to know your secret. Uh, because I've tried, and usually it's I have to pay in order to have somebody on. So that tends to be like, yeah, that's not happening. I'm not big enough channel to do that. Like, how do you do it? Is it just magic pixie dust that you just, do you have like an altar with different
Yeah,
people's puppets?
it's yeah, pretty much, it's a lot of work. But I enjoy doing it. I've definitely come out of my comfort zone and just kind of reaching out to people and talking to people and, and going to games too and seeing like the beat writers and getting to know them. Like, that's how you kind of, you start off. As far as, like the old time players like Jesse Sapolu and stuff, like they're more than happy to accommodate especially to Niner fans, like they were just awesome. But it's just, you just have to like reach out and, like you do your part. And if they answer back, they answer back. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I reached out to William Floyd couple seasons ago. I got a hold of his son, who's his agent, and we had a back and forth. He said my dad was going to busy with something, but hit me back in a couple weeks. So a couple weeks went by. I went back, and he's like, my dad does it, but it's only it's a monetary thing for him to do it. And I was like, I would love to, fork it over. I said, but I'm just not big enough to do that. You know what I mean? If I was Grant Cohn or Kruger or any of those guys, Larry, Jesse Naylor, any of those guys, Ryan Hensley, who have whose following is pretty substantial, I might make that investment, but it's just not worth it. Maybe one day if I just am so desperate that I'll be like, hey, Joe Montana, I'll pay you $4,000 to have to come on my show for 20 minutes and let you promote whatever it is that you're going to promote. Because if you notice Montana, I love Montana as a player, but as a person, man, it's like if that dude isn't pushing some sort of product, he will not appear on any show. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I love Steve Young because Steve just shows up and he talks way too much and he's really annoying, but I love Steve. Joe, it's like, oh, Joe's going to be on. Oh, he's going to be on for 20 minutes. And 10 of those minutes, he's going to be talking about whatever thing that he's doing. And it's just like, geez, dude. Like, so yeah, that was
Yeah.
the closest I ever had to having another athlete on. I'm really weary because it's like you said, it's like a fine line whether they do or they don't. I've kind of stopped trying a little bit, just because I'm just refocusing back on my own stuff.
Mhm.
And then if it just happens through just whatever, then I'll try to do it. But I'm not going to force the issue. Like if somebody's like, hey, I got a good relationship with so and so, would you like me to put in a good word for you? I'd be like, yeah. But I'm not going to
Mhm.
be like, hey, bang his door down to make sure he knows who I am, and be really weird about it. So that's awesome. Uh, it's weird. It's like the level of aggressiveness you need to have, but at the same time, you have to be wary of not coming off strange. So let's
Yeah,
talk. Oh, go
the
ahead.
main thing is that you just have to be yourself. That's all.
Yeah, I think I'm a pretty okay. Like I messaged you. Like I said, with women, I always try to just try to be respectful. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
just be
no,
like, hey, this is
I think
Aaron.
you're
If you,
cool.
yeah, I feel the same way. Um, So the 49ers had an injury with Ray McCloud a couple weeks ago, or about a week ago or so. And the talk was, oh man, it's a huge downer. We're losing, a wide receiver and kick returner, blah, 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 blah. But then we saw the game last week and we saw Ronnie Bell kind of play really well at wide receiver. And I'm trying to think of the kick returner, the DB, Jameson
Mhm.
really showed well on kick returns. And I guess my question to you is, could you see Ronnie Bell making the 53? I mean, he's going to get signed either to the practice squad or the 53, but I actually think he has a chance to make the final 53. What's your mindset?
I think with Ray going down, unfortunately, Ronnie Bell definitely has that chance to make the 53. I know Kyle said the other day that, depending on how things go with Ray, like they wouldn't be surprised if he was back by week 1. I think that's being a little too optimistic. But you mentioned Deshaun Jameson. He was awesome back there. So I wouldn't mind seeing him back there as well.
He's really fast and he really has.
Yeah.
People always laugh when I say that he has the stanky leg. The stanky leg to me is just the ability for someone to create space by movement, like a
Mhm.
juke or just ability to turn one way, plant your foot, and cut. It's a stinky leg. Like you're able. I don't know. It's hard to explain because some people have straight line speed but can't go right to left. where he
Right.
was just like straight, turn around the corner. It's just like, man, we haven't saw that probably since Ted Ginn. And really, if you think about it as a Niners fan, I mean, Dexter Carter was really the last kick returner that we had that was a legit return specialist. And that's,
Mhm.
almost 30 years ago. So, yeah, I was really excited. And Ronnie Bell, I don't know. I keep telling people this, and they're like, careful of the comparisons. Just has like a Jerry Rice vibe to him. He's not big, he's not fast, but he's like a professional receiver with really good hands. I mean, other than the tip that got picked off, but whatever. It's preseason. Jerry Rice had the drops his rookie season too. So I don't know. He just looks really smooth on his routes, crisp. I mean, I'm telling you, man. Like the Niners with these mid round picks, the picks that they're supposed to hit on, they miss, and the picks that you don't expect are the ones that always are the ones that are like, Greenlaw or Kittle or all these people that Elijah
Mhm.
Mitchell, even though he's hurt all the time, like the Niners when it comes to them, they have to make a pick, and the guy that they need to make, they fail. But when it's anything past like the fourth round, they're amazing. And I feel like Ronnie Bell has a chance to be that. I mean, he's nothing special as far as like his skills, but he has an ability to get open. So I'm looking forward to it too.
Well, it has to work out somehow. So
Right. The roster has to balance itself out. It's weird because I was going to go to linebacker next. A lot of places on this team, when we came out of that preseason game last week, we were like, wow, I don't know if they have depth there. Wow, I don't know if they have depth there. One place that this team has legit depth is at linebacker.
yes.
Uh, Jalen Graham and D Winters look like they could be real players. How are you? Are you in the who's your guys? Is it those guys? You have another a name in mind like McCrary Ball or Oren Burks or something like that?
I do like McCrary Ball, but just based on the last game, D Winters like going sideline to sideline, stuff
Yeah.
in the run, like that was really impressive, and and they could definitely be the next 1-2 behind Warner and Greenlaw for sure.
Somebody made a point to say that, like, hey, if one of those guys turns out, the Niners could move on down the line from Warner or Greenlaw, and plug one of those young guys right in. I don't know if I'm as quick to make that decision right away, but it's definitely
Yeah.
something if someone like D Winters really pops off, then yeah, you could say that. I'm it's amazing how people are always so quick to like trade a guy for picks, knowing that this team is like so hit or miss with draft picks. Like, no, let's just keep the guys we have and pay them instead of like, if we have this guy and we trade him, we could probably no, because we suck when we do that. Like, just stay pat in the draft and draft where you are seems to work out better, or do what you did last year and don't have any picks till the third round, and then hopefully that works out for you. Because I like Greenlaw, I love Warner, and it'll be nice to see if these two guys, Jalen Graham and D Winters, can end up being great backups for them. That would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your take on the outcome of last week's game when it came to the slot corner position? We both probably thought that Isaiah Oliver was a lock for that slot corner. Then that game happens, and you're like, "Damn, he looked horrible." Any particular player you have in mind, or you think the Niners are going to maneuver their roster a certain way? Uh, Anybody?
Well, I was definitely high on Isaiah Oliver for sure, and then last week I was just kind of like, oh, maybe not. But Ambry Thomas played really well. Samuel Womack, if they can, keep playing like really well and stay on the outside, then Demo Lenore can come in on the inside. I'm excited for the secondary. Regardless, I think this is probably hopefully going to be like the best secondary Shanahan has had under him. So we'll see what happens. But secondary linebackers, we need Nick Bosa, um, you know, to come and be with the team and sign his contract, and but wait and see.
Yeah, Bosa's kind of like the linchpin. He's the star, the old saying from the Yankees back in the day. He's the straw that stirs the drink. Uh,
Yes.
Nick Bosa is a special player. Every year that he's been healthy, the Niners have made a championship game or better. So Nick Bosa's importance affects everybody, especially the secondary. And I agree with you. This on paper has the makings to be a pretty deep secondary if everybody can stay healthy.
Mhm.
Um, I'm hoping to see a good second year from Samuel Womack. Quantrez Knight, I've heard some people talk about him.
Yep.
Of course, at slot, there's been some talk that maybe the Niners take Diamador Lenore and move him into the slot and maybe kick somebody else outside. I don't know if that would be Womack, but to me, it's the best 53, and it doesn't matter what combination that is. Whatever brings you to that place, I'm okay with it. Like if a guy is signed for a specific reason but doesn't play, ends up doing something else. To me, it's like people have said before, it's a meritocracy. Uh, I don't really care. So I want the best 53 players on the team.
Same.
I really could give a rat's patootie if certain players that you sign don't make it. Like it doesn't really bother me. Let's talk about the giant elephant in the room that is Nick Moody or Jake Moody, not Nick Moody.
Jake Moody. Yep.
It is Jake Moody. How shocked were you last week when he missed those 2 kicks? Because I was like, damn, wow, this game really sucks, but this might be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, wow, this is really happening. I don't know if we have a slight competition on our hands now, with Jake Moody and Zane Gonzalez. But I mean, Kyle did say that hopefully both of them will actually get a chance in tonight's game. So again, I mean, we'll see what happens, but hopefully, he gets those butterflies out. I mean, he kicked at Michigan, Michigan,
Right.
so I don't see with all, with the misses and stuff like that. But, I still have high hopes for him. I like Jake Moody. So we'll see tonight.
His post game was definitely a little off putting. He seemed like a deer in headlights. It was just like, whoa, is this too big for him? Like like you said, he kicked at Michigan. He played for Harbaugh. It was like a
Yeah.
complete spaz. Like I don't understand. And he was indoors. It was no pressure. It was wow. Okay. And Eli, from people say like Levi's is not an easy place to kick with just because of the dimensions and how it sits and what kind of what kind of like background you see when you kick the ball. It's like a little off putting. So I hope he nails them tonight. Because we really need him when we go into Chicago. And Niners seem to start slow on offense during the season. They need their kicker to be able to bang home some kicks, but maybe he just gets it out of his system tonight. I'm not super worried, but I'm a little bit worried. That's why hopefully maybe, if something happens, they still keep Zane Gonzalez and stash him or something. I don't know. It's a little off putting.
I would like for us not to rely so much on kickers and kind of like
Right.
blow every team out of the water so we don't have to, rely on kickers so much. That would be nice.
Definitely. 100%. One topic that I wanted to ask you about because it's something that always really I have to talk about it is I'm not a big Javon Kinlaw guy.
Okay.
Just based on his way he carries himself and just the fact that he was such a high draft pick and he's never been able to really kind of show it. And he talks a lot, but doesn't put a lot out on the field. How disappointed were you in his showing against in his first preseason showing against the Raiders, where he essentially, just like in the NFC Championship game, was getting freaking pushed around like he was playing high again and doing all the stuff that supposedly in training camp he was so amazing and he was killing it, and then he gets into a game and it's the same old Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah, training camp, he, apparently looked great, like a new Javon Kinlaw, and then, he's in the game and, that's what we see. Almost like you said, like the same thing. But time will tell with him. But if this is obviously a reoccurring thing, then I think it's definitely time for him to go.
Yeah. I mean, he was drafted, 15th or 14th or 15th overall?
Yeah.
When you're drafted at that position, you're expected to be an all-pro. Maybe not the greatest player of all time, but an all-pro. And
Right.
He hasn't even sniffed any of that in his career. And there's just a lot of talking. He does a lot of talking, a lot of this, a lot of that. It's like, man, if I had something to prove, my mouth would be closed 100%. But I guess that's just his personality. I don't know. I'm one of those people, like, if you're not able to perform on the field as a fan and you talk a lot, it just throws me off. It's
Mhm.
just like, why are you talking? Like, what's the purpose of this? You're not good. So keep at your craft until you can actually make a difference. And then I'm okay with you talking, but that's just me. Anything that you're looking forward to this week? Is your channel, if I know you guys have the Wednesday show, East Gold Red and Cold podcast. I don't remember a lot of your co-hosts, but I know Ty Alston and yourself.
Yeah. Myself, Ty, Maddie B, and your girl Bex, every Wednesday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. This week, we're actually going to do a 53-man roster projection.
Nice.
And we're going to have Terradome and Tony and Brian Culp on.
Nice. You got the Culp crew,
Yeah, so it's going to be
Terradome.
fun.
That's awesome. And then I have your guy on Monday who's part of the Niners Coast to Coast. He's great. Me and him disagree a lot, but he's the nicest. He's the nicest argument I've ever had. Like, we keep it like, yeah, I don't agree, or nah, I'm not feeling that, but it never gets anywhere near some of the blowups that I've seen on
Yeah.
on YouTube with people that are on different wavelengths. Like, whoa, you guys, it's just a game. It's okay, like yeah, I love Ty. I think Ty's great.
Yeah, I mean, the four of us, like, I mean, if we disagree or, like, I mean, we are in agreement a lot, but, the times that we do like disagree, it's like, it's always like, oh, well, I may have a little different opinion. It's not like we're not screaming at each other or anything like that. That's really not what we want to portray. And same thing with like the guests, like we just want to be different than anybody else because there's a lot of content creators out there, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Sure is.
So we try to be different and we try to be respectful as well.
I think for myself, the way I look at it is I try to come across more like a podcast. When you watch a lot of podcasts, especially like if it's Mayoka with Jennifer Lee Chan, like, it's a professional kind of feel to it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When people start screaming and swearing and getting intense, which is fine, but like, it depends on what you're trying to go for with the type of content that you're putting out there. If you're
Right.
going for shock value or, a little bit like of an R-rated type feel and you just say whatever you feel and some of it can be a little bit, bad language or whatever, and there's a little adult sizzle to your show.
Hmm.
I've always tried to keep it somewhat so that if somebody was looking in, as I asked them to be on my show and they kind of looked in on my channel, they didn't look and see and be like, "Oh, yeah, no, not doing that show. Like, oh, that guy's a absolute nut." You know what I mean? I'd rather have them have a good
Right.
kind of feel for it. But that's me. And you guys seem to have a similar vibe, kind of like our Monday show, where like we all, for the most part, agree, but like even when we don't agree, nobody's taking shots personally. And I think that's how you keep
Right.
good relationships. But we're out to get out of here. Just real quick, any other news or anything you are looking forward to in this game, or have we pretty much nailed it all?
I think we pretty much nailed it all, but just relax, enjoy it. It's 49ers football. And this, regular season will be here before you know it.
Yeah, we got to relax because once the regular season hits, that won't be a possibility, at least for me. So I appreciate you coming on. I know this was kind of a thing we try to get out of here before 8:30, and I said I would try to get us out about 10:02, and that's right where we are now. Everybody, thank you for coming through who are in the comments. I appreciate it. Me and Jess are going to get out of here.
Yeah,
You guys
thanks
can
for having me on.
absolutely. I wanted to make it more than just me coming in your comments or vice versa. So I would love to do something again, maybe jump on your guys' show or
Yeah,
something,
absolutely.
or I could have
Yeah.
all the rest of you come on my channel and we could have
Yeah.
like a massive, like 6 or 8 panel thing going on. But
Yeah, we'll make it work.
all right, everybody have a great rest of your evening. Go watch the 49ers and we'll talk to you later.
Go Niners.